tell me we were on film yet.
Where are we headed today, Carrie?
It's 6:30 a.m.
Oh yeah, it is pretty early.
We're headed off to RalliTEK this morning to check out some of their new products and test fit some things here on the Forester.
Yep, we are excited to throw a few things on that we've been interested in trying, and then some things that they've, I think, developed for these newer chassis. So should be pretty interesting, but we'll see. It's a 3-hour drive, give or take, and we're trying to beat traffic. So 6:30. Yeah, Carrie doesn't even have shoes on yet, but we're almost there. Not at all.
Guess where we're going first?
Starbucks.
Give me caffeine.
Someday
We'll get our lifeblood.
4 cars to go. Well, we've made it into Oregon.
Now we're in Oregon.
Well, now we're in Oregon.
Hello, Oregon.
Time to go get some parts put on this thing. Oh yeah. And here we are, PRE Racing, home of RalliTEK. All right, here we go. Whoa!
Wow. You get so many tires.
Oh yeah. If you guys care about performance and Subarus, this kinda is the place to be. Oh, hello, Lola, good girl.
Don't jump out.
Here we go. Time to get rid of this mildly saggy booty. This should be good. Carrie's gonna be spending about 30 days out of this car traveling.
-1.5 days.
Yeah, -1.5, but she'll be traveling, we'll be traveling to California and eventually Flagstaff, Arizona. And so this thing needs to get ready for some extra gear. So let's make some changes and see what kind of RalliTEK goodies will go on.
We're back in.
Bye, Lola. Alrighty, we've got a pile of things we're gonna throw back on and change some things up. So let's get this unloaded and see how it goes, right, Carrie?
Yep.
Alrighty, Lola's chilling, doing her best to support. But Carrie, we are changing out a couple things today.
Yes.
We are basically tackling the rear end mostly. This has been kind of a space of contention, or just we're trying to figure things out because, you know, hybrid's got the battery.
Got some new things going on with it.
Yeah, definitely a little interesting. So we've tried a few different configurations using factory shocks with springs and spacers and whatnot. And there's just so much weight, especially once we have it loaded down. So we're gonna throw a little bit heavier spring.
I carry a lot of stuff when I'm out adventuring.
Yeah. Exactly. We
got to really support it.
Yeah, even just carrying around, you know, the spare tire that's down there, a couple of tools and things like that. We were kind of sitting level, right around 3 inches of lift, which is good, but we want to get a little bit more than that. We want to carry a little more gear, refrigerator, etc. So,
bougie like that.
Yes, exactly. So we're throwing a little bit heavier spring. It's actually a little shorter, so we'll be removing a strut extension as well as throwing a taller spacer on. So but with a heavier spring rate on the same shock. So we should get a little bit better performance, a little more lift. And I think it's gonna work well for our needs, especially carrying around this gigantic animal.
I know. We gotta make all these adjustments because she's a, big personality.
Yeah.
Getting things taken apart. So we can get up underneath here.
And then keep going.
Everything's looking pretty decent. We're gonna put some new arms here, the new bushings. So these are gonna get replaced, and then most of the work's gonna be back here in the back. Definitely put some dents in this extra little skid plate we have here along the high voltage line for the hybrid system that goes back to the battery, so definitely put that to use apparently. So this is that high voltage line that was covered up by that skid plate. Kind of runs right alongside the frame. It's still protected for the most part, but Like I was worried about doing is like popping off of here and then bumping up and damaging anything here. And if you damage anything, the electrical system, wasn't sure what it was going to do. I'm sure it wasn't going to be happy. So that's why we got that covered up. Okay, use the right size, right kind of pry bar.
Yeah, you do.
All dried out.
Much better.
Like popped that arm out.
Yeah, not too bad.
So what arm is this, Milton?
So this is, this is a factory hybrid Forester arm, and it's a good thing we're replacing it. It's kind of hard, you can see there's the beginnings of a crack right there. This is a different style bushing than what comes on most Subarus, but it still seems to not love long-term abuse. Right there you can totally see a crack is formed. This is a different style bushing than what's on most Subarus, but and it seemed to be doing better, though it still didn't hold up to the test of off-roading. So
we didn't have them on there too long.
Not even. These were maybe 10,000 miles or so. So definitely a little bit of a bummer, but we're gonna fix that today with something a little different from RalliTEK. Alrighty, so we're gonna be replacing the factory bushings with the RalliTEK bushing, and they require you to remove this stud, which thankfully is really not too bad, at least on the newer vehicles. I wouldn't trust this so much in a rust belt maybe, but it's just a 15 millimeter wrench. Loosen that guy up and then it threads right out of there. We'll be replacing this with a traditional bolt instead of this funky stud, which should make things a little bit better for more articulation. So this is the same thing you do if you're doing like WRX arms on a first gen cross truck. I have to do the same thing. So I've been converted like this for years, but now there's an option for modern Subarus, so we'll get this taken care of. There we go.
Oh, we're trying to get that sway bar back in here. Yes, we are actually trying to put a sway bar back in a vehicle. But you'll see what we got going on here.
We've got it in with a little banging. I'm sure there was a more elegant way to do it, but we'll go ahead and throw. It's not too bad. Yeah. Easier than taking it out. But we'll go ahead and throw our sway bar brackets back on, and then we can work on the end links at some point today.
So we're adding a bit of a spacer here. 2.5 inches, I believe, right?
Huh?
2.5 inches?
Yep.
This is the rear strut, and we're putting a little heavier spring on there. A little taller extension in the back for lift. Should hold to the gear a little bit better and keep that rear end up from sagging.
Okay, interesting. Alrighty, so here we've got the new setup versus the old. We're actually going a slight shorter setup, it looks like, but with a heavier spring rate, more strut spacer, and that should lend us a pretty good lift for this hybrid. So I'm pretty excited, and should be pretty cool to see what happens. Hopefully it works out. They're not wiggling as much as the old setup was, so I'm content. All right. This Forester is very tall and pretty heavy, and got a shorter wheelbase than carries Outback, for example.
It's narrow too.
Yeah, it's pretty narrow. So we wanted to, especially with this more OEM plus RalliTEK components, we really wanted to try their whole package out. So we're actually throwing the sway bar back in. We've got it in now, and we're going to be playing with their disconnectable sway bar endlinks. So these things are super cool. These came out a little over a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, this will connect up to our shock and allow us to disconnect whenever we want. So on the road, we've got our front sway bar connected, feeling good. Get to the trail, we're really wanting to articulate as much as possible, and we end up disconnecting it. So this right here is that top piece. This is that super special component. This will basically bolt to the shock, and then this pin right here is what we pull out, and it'll allow us to remove this. So this end link comes disconnecting, and then this stays in the shock, and then your end link is disconnected, you tie it off, you're good to go. So it's a pretty quick system. Definitely pretty excited to try it out. So this will be a good time. He's cranking away at our rear suspension. We already showed you just how different we're going with that setup in the rear, and how we've changed and altered the way that setup is put together. So this should be pretty exciting. Hopefully gives us a little bit of extra lift in the rear with that heavier spring rate. And here he goes, throwing in that rear, get it nice and connected.
Yeah, we'll see how that new spring does. I'm super stoked about this. So yeah, now you can see on up there, got a little bit taller, little lift on the top there, the springs, still on these stock shocks. So we got that stock valving.
Alrighty, we're throwing up the first of the end links. We've got our washer on, which we have confirmed I'm putting on correctly. Read instructions, I'm not very good at that. That is okay.
So yeah, washer on either side.
Yes, I got a washer on either side. Start with, and then I got my bolts for up top.
Confirming that there is no washers up here on the top when you've got the disconnectable link end. Correct?
Correct. Alrighty, so now we are pressing in the new bushings from RalliTEK. These are a metal spherical bearing bushing. They basically improve your articulation, or rather reliability with articulation. You know, on these Subarus traditionally, the rubber bushings tend to fail, especially once you lift them, but even stock. So by allowing us to swap in these metal bushings, we should have a lot better longevity. You also get better handling. There's less deflection when you're steering, braking, accelerating, whatnot. So it kind of lends to a lot of benefits. These can sometimes offer a little bit of extra NVH though, so we kind of keep that in mind. So we're excited to try them out and see how they do. These are very similar to our TSS Fab bushings that we run on some of our other vehicles. Comes with everything you need and has that better rubber, or rather silicone, polyurethane, whatever it is, kind of covering it up. So keeps it nice and clean and should lend to a much better setup. So we are excited to try them out. Yeah, we have this other one as well for that forward bushing. We've been running that for a little while, and it works flawlessly. They're on a version 2, maybe 3 of that other one, and have come to a final product that you can purchase now on the RalliTEK website. So we're pretty excited about it. Alrighty, we've got the end link installed on both sides. We just gotta tighten everything down and grease them up, but we also got to install the holder. There's basically something that goes right up here to hold this in place once you're removed. So we'll get that taken care of here in a minute as well. But that's kind of what she looks like. Not too bad. Alrighty, there we go. We've got the sway bar disconnect end link in. We've got the new RalliTEK bushing. Everything's feeling pretty good. And of course, we've got our readjusted rear suspension. We're going to test and see how it looks on the ground here in just a second. Thank you, Michael, for putting all this effort in and listening to our crazy things, and RalliTEK for making some crazy good products. So this should be pretty sweet. Woohoo! Alrighty, well here we go. Michael is going to move the car. We'll see how she settles out with that new heavy duty rear spring setup, and then we'll throw it on the alignment rack. Should be pretty good. Oh yeah, much better. That is what we are talking about. No more saggy booty. That's much better. Here we go, getting on the rack. Let's see how she aligns. But it's no more saggy booty. Alrighty, we are done with our time here at RalliTEK down here in Portland, Oregon. And Carrie, we've done a couple changes.
Yeah, I like it. Just some little tweaks on things have made a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. We ended up changing out the rear suspension. Overall, this is actually something very important that I wanted to say. We were looking for a little bit more lift to kind of or rather spring rate, to handle the weight that this car has. It's a pretty heavy vehicle. It's got a battery in the back, etc. So we ended up going to a heavier spring rate. That was a little bit shorter of a spring, so we removed a strut extension. So we went to stock length shock, and we went from a 1-inch spacer to a 2.5-inch spacer. So overall, the actual shock length with all of those components from what we were running and what we're running now didn't change. It is the same length. It goes in the same. We're not stressing axles anymore, but we have a heavier spring rate. We're going to be able to handle that heavier load, and everything's a lot happier overall. So very good times, very content. And then you added some things in the front.
Okay, y'all know us as the people who never run sway bars. We actually put a sway bar back in this car.
Yeah, that is a little bit different for us. The only car that we really run sway bars on is the rally car occasionally, the rally cross car, the Impreza, and the Lexus, because it's a boat.
Yes.
But we did throw a front sway bar back on this, though with something a little special that RalliTEK does. What did we throw on there?
Yeah, it's super cool. So we really like the articulation going off-road, and RalliTEK makes an end link that you can disconnect from the sway bar.
Which if I come in here, you can kind of see, it's that guy right there. So we have a little pin like rest here. This is where we end up tying it off. But this pin is something that you can remove and then slide that end link off, tie it off over here. You do it on both sides right before you hit an articulated trail. Boop, boop, and then suddenly you have a disconnected sway bar. But when you get back on the highway, reconnect them, and you've got all the stability from before.
Yep.
This is going to be really key to the next 30 days, where Carrie is essentially living out of this car. Not quite, but for about 30 days, we'll be traveling across the country, across the west of the United States. So it'll add a little bit of stability, make it a little easier to drive, along with that rear spring rate, because we still don't have a sway bar in the rear.
Correct.
But that heavier spring rate is controlling the vehicle a lot better. So we just did a couple U-turns and some whoopity-boopities. Yeah, and it held up great. So we are super pumped about it. And yeah, and then also really quick, I wanted to note something here. These vehicles are on essentially the same size tire, 15s versus 17s, but diameter is the same. But you can see a little bit that lift is just a little higher. So especially in the rear, let's see if I can come back here. You can see that tire gap. So you can definitely see just how tall this vehicle is versus this, 2.5-inch lifted Forester. So feeling pretty good about it and ready to adventure. So we got to go do some things, run some errands while we're here in Oregon. Yeah, but we will see you guys next time. Well, we have been driving now for 20-30 minutes with the new upgrades. What do you think so far, Carrie?
So far, I feel a lot more stable, as I thought it would be with the addition of the sway bar back on. Going around corners, it's not leaning as far. Seems like we can take it a lot more controlled.
Yeah, absolutely. And the rear spring rate, we went from, I believe 340-ish pound spring to a 488, which is quite a big jump. Though realistically, it doesn't feel quite as jumpy as it might sound. It's definitely a little bit stiffer and you feel some bumps more, but it's honestly pretty stable and comfortable still.
Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely not feeling like my back is aching or anything from it.
It's not harsh.
No.
It's just like you can feel it, it's there.
Yeah.
Instead of the kind of like the more squishy, floaty kind of feel that it had before.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah, I would honestly almost say it's pretty akin to like a stock WRX. So that little bit of sportier vibe going on. Obviously, still really tall and top heavy.
Not driving it like a WRX.
No, it definitely doesn't drive like a WRX, but the suspension at least feels a little bit more akin. And then the front bushings, we've got those metal bushings in here.
They're quiet.
Yeah, they're really not making too much noise. There's perhaps like 5% more road noise coming through the cabin from them, but nothing that I'm too worried about. I'm not sure about you, Carrie, but
no.
I think for some people, yes, it's definitely going to be more than you want. I would say if you don't like the tire sounds you might have from an all-terrain tire, you probably aren't going to love this either. But if you listen to music or have an exhaust, I don't think you're going to care.
You got dogs, you got kids, you talk to your partner.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world by any means. And the extra handling benefits have been really nice too. That tightens up the steering wheel a bit, and really, we should have a lot of longevity out of it as well, which of course we'll find out in the long run. But so far, so good.
Yeah, and I can't hear any clunking or anything so far from that detachable endlink.
Yeah, true. I have definitely taken some slightly cambered turns, and haven't really heard anything clunking or doing anything. We use that lubricant, which they send with those. That helps keep everything lubed up, and the Aqua Lube helps keep everything quiet and comfortable.
It was also installed correctly, so the length is equal on either side, and the
jam nuts.
The jam nuts are nice and tight on there, so it's not moving around at all. So I think that's one of the really important things that we need to keep in mind, is to make sure that, if you guys do decide to grab one of these, which so far I'm liking it, you got to make sure it's installed correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like one of the largest issues from consumers who don't like how these work. It really comes down to user error, installation error, where they're inconsistently sized. These are an adjustable length end link, and if one side's taller or shorter than the other, then you end up with bind right off the bat. So you're driving around constantly with that sway bar under tension. So installing them correctly, everything's happy, and it feels pretty dang nice. Like, we just did a nice curvy road, and other than having to pay attention a little bit, it really isn't too bad at all. So loving it, and we'll see how it goes in the long run. But that's it for now. See you guys later.